Hi, I'm Bill Arnold. Thank you for listening to this podcast. There are many more podcasts available at myfaithradio.com. Your support makes this possible. Thank you.
Of all the people that listen to my show, I have to say you are pretty much my favorite. Let's get started.
Oh, don't you know, it's the Bill Arnold Show. It's Bill.
And a warm welcome to the Bill Arnold Show. In 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7, it instructs husbands to live with their wives in an understanding, considerate way, treating them with honor and respect. That's our topic today with Dr. Marcus Bachmann. He's here with me in studio. He's the president and founder of CounselingCare.us and also one of the persons in the Counselor's Corner, which we hopefully will do here in the next month or so. Marcus, nice to have you here.
It's always good to be back here, and I think there's some sunshine out there today.
Beautiful sunshine, yes. Now, I know I want to propose a question to listeners, and we were just discussing it before the show started. How would I best frame that question when it comes to understanding and being treated considerately by your husband? How should I ask that question?
Well, I think that the women out there will know and understand what that means. They understand that when they're being treated in a respectful manner, in a way that their husband or significant other understands them, I'd like them to give an example of what that feels like, what's that like for them.
When they're feeling understood.
When they're feeling understood. They know it. Mm-hmm. They know it. As a matter of fact, I think most of us know it, but particularly in a close relationship between husband and wife, a wife knows when she's being understood. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to that.
So if I said, I feel understood when, then you fill in the blank.
There you go, Bill.
So I feel understood when, and if you would text your response to 877-933-2484. I feel understood when.
And some of the listeners may decide, I don't feel understood.
Amen.
When. So they may take it both sides, but it would be nice to have the
positive part.
Positive, yes.
But I'm sure there's plenty of opportunity for negatives. So let's jump into the text, Marcus. 1 Peter 3:7, where husbands are instructed to live with their wives in an understanding, considerate way, treating them with honor and respect.
You know, just think about when Peter, during this time, how were wives treated? I would say that the culture did not treat them in a respectful, honoring way. So here we have the ambassador of Christ, the prophetic word, the absolute shaking of the cultural norm happen right there. It's like when Jesus visited the woman at the well. The understanding of this verse said that, we are heirs in Christ, in the kingdom. There is no difference between man and woman in what we will receive, the value that we have, and God's purpose in our lives. I mean, equality and the leveling of such ultimate honor and respect. That was, first of all, I think, in context, mm-hmm. when we understand that, how revolutionary that was for the time.
Completely revolutionary.
And I think today when there is a feminist or a liberal bent against the Gospels, read it. Look at how the understanding of what we have raised each other up. Now, we both need to understand the equality of that. But I think in this context now, What is it that God has called men to understand about women? I know this is going to be a shocking statement to the audience, but men and women are different.
Hang on. What are you talking about?
Their needs are different. I'll always remember. Now, this is an old study, but I remember Dr. Dobson mentioning this one for the nursery, hospital nursery study that was done, and that is that they say that. Women use a lot more words than men.
Okay.
Men are, it doesn't diminish men, but they are men of fewer words and probably much often fewer feelings. Doesn't mean that men don't have feelings, but they are not always able to express as easily or as with the words that women can. And the study that was done for this hospital nursery study was that in the hospital nursery, baby boys compared to baby girls' lips move twice as much as baby boys.
Wow, I did not know that.
And then when the study was done with the toddlers, later on in nursery school and in kindergarten also, boys did not use as many words in the playground. They studies, the understanding of what happened there, and boys would usually give grunt words. Zoom, broom, they didn't use as many words. Women use a lot more words, and they use a lot more feelings. There's differences. We could go on and on about, men's bodies and women's bodies and hormones and muscle mass and the size of lungs and the size of the heart even and the muscle structure. So, and as I'll say it as a side note, I think that it is a absolute mistake. And our culture has gone upside down with this one, that men should not be allowed to be in women's sports. So there is differences. Mm-hmm. How unfair it is that a woman who has practiced, has been disciplined in a sport for maybe her entire life, has been won because a male decided that they felt like a female. They'll never be the same. Never. There's a composite, chemistry-wise, DNA that will never be the same. So men and women are different. I know that's just such a shocking term to say today, but I'm being sarcastic in many ways. But to understand a woman, there are certain ways that men need to be taught, need to be educated, need to understand themselves. How is it that I communicate? What is it that a woman will sense that her man will feel understood? How is that, Bill? I think that's one of the questions for today as we study this.
Here's some early responses. When my fears, loneliness, anger is understood and supported from my husband, and he speaks truth to me.
Ooh.
That's when she feels understood.
Now, just listen to that. There's something to be said about that. First of all, I think there has to be a plan for a man to actually take the time to when he or she at the end of the day, or when they meet each other after work, or if she's at home with the children, if that is the case, that there is a opportunity given. We're going to have a time together that we're going to sit down and we're going to listen to each other. We're actually going to ask each other. I'm going to sense that it isn't just the words that my wife will share with me, because as the old saying goes, men like to fix. They see a problem, they hear, the conversation of what happened during the day. Well, I think I could tell you how to improve that. That's not really what anyone wants to hear typically. Mm-hmm. They want to be heard. They want to have time given to the story that they're going to share. Mm. And they want to have a sensitivity that this man is listening. I think one of the greatest gifts we give to each other is attention. having the attitude that, first of all, your story is worth hearing, that what you're saying to me, I am paying attention to. I'm not just paying attention to the words, I'm paying attention to the feelings. I'm asking you reflective questions. I'm asking as I hear and summarize, am I understanding this is what you're telling me? And a woman understands there's effort there. There's a challenge for a man to go beyond just the fixing, to go beyond just the words, but to understand the feeling part of it. Oh, Bill, that's a gift.
Yeah, Marcus, another comment came in. I feel understood when you're willing to communicate through hard things and then do what you say you're going to do.
Oh, follow through. Oh,
Ooh.
now we're hitting rubber meets the road here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, there are tough things that we need to pay attention to. It doesn't mean necessarily what we think as men that are tough things.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a tough thing to anyone else, it's a tough thing.
And you said, Marcus, about being heard. Another comment came in. I don't feel understood when my husband is looking or even glancing at his phone when I'm trying to tell him something.
Oh, let's put those phones down. The evils of the day, and yet the gifts of the day is the smartphone, is the cell phone, I should say. It is. They're wonderful gifts to have. Yeah. They protect us in many ways.
Yep.
But in a relationship, I mean, just ever since I was in 6th grade, my favorite hobby was to watch people, to look at people, to go to the mall or to see people interact socially. And today, I anytime at a restaurant, I look at. First of all, I pay attention to my wife, Michelle, but I also pay attention to how many cell phones are out there. Mm-hmm. And it's like it's a combination of an addiction and a absolute poor habit that people have. Because if you're telling your story, if you're sharing your day, first of all, why would you even have your phone out? Mm-hmm. Why not just turn it down? I mean, you can take the call later. You can respond later. Eye contact is essential in any relationship. But when a husband gives eye contact and he faces his wife and the children, and unless I used to always use the words, listen, Mom and Dad are going to have a few moments here. And unless it's an emergency, and that means blood, don't interrupt us.
Okay.
And you know what? Children will understand that. Mm-hmm. And just think of that message that's given to a child. Oh, wait a minute. Mom and Dad have a priority.
It's not us.
And it's not us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good message. Mom and Dad date. They actually go out and they spend time together, and they go away for weekends once in a while, or at least every so often, and then they have their couch time, and we can't interrupt them. And wait a minute. The message is we're not at the center of their universe. We're important. We're loved. We're cared for, and Mom and Dad take time to listen to us too. What a message! But we need to be given the example between a husband and wife that they take the time. They will take the time to listen, to understand, to be considerate, to respect each other. What a great example.
So I was doing a little research for this time with you today, Marcus, and I was reading a story of a couple who had been married 60 years, and the man said that one of the things I needed to do was realize that I don't love the same woman because she changes. and if I don't update my love and stay curious, because you marry someone, but maybe you're 23 and she's not going to be the same person at 33 or 43.
That's the good news. The good news is we change, and we're supposed to.
Yeah.
I am thankful that as Michelle and I celebrate 48 years this year, she certainly is not, and I certainly am not the same person when we were 23. The good news is we're supposed to change. And with that change, I mean, there's this whole sense that we kind of like to know what is to be expected. And so we get very comfortable, in some ways very lazy about relationships. We just think, I got this figured out. I know who she is. I, deliver the flowers for Valentine's Day and all the right holidays and, hit the right spots. And, wait a minute. That's not really the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to have, not that we become anxious, but that we become alert and interested. I mean, otherwise, this becomes, okay, it's a good thing that we help provide. It's a good thing that we protect. That's very important. And that we are good dads if we have kids. All of that has value. But it goes much deeper than that. Mm-hmm. We don't want dullness. We don't want, just a sense of I'm getting used to all this. And women change. I mean, there are seasons to women that are very different in both biology, both emotions, seasons of life. Men get that one season that typically is in their 40s when they get the red sports car and they, start to wonder about their identity and they, get the gold chain and, well, maybe they don't do that anymore. But,
I was going to say, are you describing yourself, Marcus? Or what?
No. I haven't gone through that phase yet at 70. No. Or they unbutton their shirt. That whole thing is just goofy. But hey, wait a minute. It's real. And that's where some real danger happens with, another woman being involved. And women have multiple seasons typically. And much of it can be related to hormones. Much of it can be related to, the phases of life that they have changed where men don't have that as much. And so, yes. Mm-hmm. Boy, that took a long time to answer the statement of yes.
It's a good answer, though.
They change.
Yeah.
We're supposed to.
Yeah. Dr. Marcus Bachmann is my guest. We're going to continue this discussion. We're getting our text out of 1 Peter 3:7 that is instructing husbands to live with their wives in an understanding, considerate way, treating them with honor and respect. So the question I have is, how would you fill in the rest of this question? I feel understood when, and text your answer over to 877-933-2484, and we'll be right back. It is my deepest desire that you take the very first step of faith by placing your faith and trust in Jesus Christ. If you've got questions about what it means to begin a relationship with Jesus, text the word faith to 41224. I am back with Dr. Marcus Bachmann. You can learn more about him at counselingcare.us, counselingcare.us. And we're talking today about husbands being instructed to live with their wives in an understanding and considerate way, treating them with honor and respect. And I am looking at 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7. I think I'm just going to read it, Marcus, if you don't mind.
Great.
Yeah. Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. Now, that's a difficult passage because some people heard treat them with respect as the weaker partner, and that probably got some attention.
Well,
Explain
that's
that.
true. Isn't it interesting how we can take a verse and just focus on one particular aspect and not understand it fully and yet miss what the rest of it says? A weaker vessel is, typically understood that there is a physical difference, that men are stronger. But there's also a need for women to have a protection in a marriage. And protection can mean a lot of different things. When it brings up, but we're equal heirs, just that's the key. Mm-hmm. It is just not the focus of the weaker vessel. Sure, there's a physical difference. Well, that's perfectly all right. That's the way it's made. But there is a protection in that. But I think more importantly, as you were reading, is wow. As a man, as anyone, who would want their prayers hindered? Who would want God not to listen to their prayers? So if I'm not doing my part as a man, as a husband, if I'm not paying attention to how I can be considerate, thoughtful, respectful, listening, understanding my wife, if I throw that to the side and say, you know what, I just don't have a lot of responsibility, or they've settled into, after a few years, this is just the way it is. How lazy and inconsiderate that is. My prayers, God may not listen to my prayers.
Ooh.
That's a huge deal.
That's a pretty big deal.
I think we need to pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I think there should be a call in every man's life to say, if I'm a husband, I really need to take this seriously. It's a good challenge. It's something that no one does perfectly, and I'm not saying that we hit the mark every day at 100%, but we need to be really intentional about understanding and being considerate of our wives.
Well, Marcus, how would you deal with this? This came in from a male listener that said, I don't feel understood and have given up on it. I learned to live with it.
Well, sad is that comment, and of course, it's grievous. I'm a strong believer that God is a God of hope, and God is often just a stroke before midnight. He answers our prayers, not on our timetable, even though yesterday would have been fine with me had you answered that, Lord. But the truth is, when we start to grow cold, we need to watch our heart. Have we grown into a coldness that has become a bitterness, a root of bitterness? The word speaks about that and the dangers thereof. We're as guilty as a man who doesn't pay attention to his wife if the spouse decides, I'm giving up too. We do not have that as a choice. That is not ours. We are to be men and women deliberately, intentionally looking to Him as our source. If we don't have enough fulfillment, if we don't have our cup full enough, then this is going to be a desperate life, a hopeless life, a life that's filled with darkness, depression, anxiety, and all the other mental health issues that I've seen in the 40-some years that I've been doing this. I am a strong believer that we never give up. We don't have that right. And God is instructing us because He's a God of hope. Nothing is impossible. The toughest marriage, I've seen this over and over again, can turn around. And there are a number of different ways, even if that means going away for a weekend for a marriage intensive, going for a first visit to a counselor's office, seeking out a friend that might be able to be a person of intervention in our marriage, being a person of prayer and believing that God can change us even when we have lost hope, and give me hope so that I treat my spouse in a way that I need to treat them to turn this around.
Dr. Marcus Bachmann is my guest, and the question we asked is, I feel understood when? Then you would fill in the rest of that sentence and text it over to 877-933-2484. Marcus, this next comment, how do I deal with it when my spouse talks, I listen, I reply when appropriate, but then my replies get shot down as not the right words, or the right words but said the wrong way, or said the right way but with the wrong tone or the wrong cadence. I feel hopeless when this happens, and I try and try, but this is hard.
Yeah, here's that word again, hopeless. And I think we have to be very careful with that attitude. Listen, we can feel anything we want to feel. That's understood, but we don't want to stay stuck with our feelings. We don't want that to be the steering wheel that drives our car here in a marriage. I think that when it comes to a real sense of not being heard by a husband, I think we can turn that around and say, rather than shooting back with frustration, hurt, anger, I think there's a better way by asking some questions. And I would be careful of how I use the words, but I think these words, something like this. Honey, I want to make sure that I am understanding you. I want to make sure that when you tell me a story or you're telling me about your day, that you feel that I am listening to you. You are worthy of being heard. Your story is important to me. And honey, can you tell me if you feel like I'm listening to you? And I think typically the answer would be from a husband, even if he's a selfish man, will typically say, yeah, because she does hear. She does do reflective words back. And then the opportunity is it all right if I share with you a concern that I have about both of us being able to hear each other? And then, Bill, she can share, I don't feel always heard. And I want to make sure that we're both being heard. That puts often the defenses down. That puts the whole sense of, what you have to say is important. And what I have to say is important. But I'm having some difficulty with not feeling heard. So can we talk about that? Or you know what? If we can't get through this, if we can't seem to resolve this, I'd like to just talk to somebody else about this. And the great news is many churches out there have marriage mentors today. Marriage mentor programs have been around for many years. And it's a free program. It's a program that it just takes a few sessions. And one of the basics that they go over is good communication and being heard, being understood. That's one way. There are books out there. There are seminars out there. There are podcasts out there. There are good Christian counselors out there. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different ways that we don't want to end with a feeling of hopelessness. We want to give an opportunity to affirm the other person, to make sure that we're doing our part. Because if we're not doing our part, if we skipped a beat here and the husband says, I don't feel heard at all, well, then ask the question, how is that? Tell me more about that. Those three words, I've said this probably 1,000 times now. Tell me more. Always is a good conversation that keeps the conversation going. And it allows the spouse to have a sense of, people understand if the other one is being genuine. And so if I'm genuinely wanting to make sure that you're being heard, and I'm checking on my part, my responsibility of doing that, and then I have an opportunity to say, is it all right if I share with you my perspective on what it's like on this end? Those words end up to be not as much the fighting words, not as much as the defensive words. I'm not guaranteeing this. I'm just saying the opportunity for success is more in hand that way.
That's beautifully said, Marcus. That was really, really good.
Thank you.
Do you not agree, Wyatt?
I think it was fantastic.
I mean, it was eloquent.
Oh,
yeah.
Thanks. Now I don't know what I said. I should record myself.
Well, don't worry. You're going to listen to the podcast because we have a podcast.
Yes.
All right. So the question is, I feel understood when, and then you'd fill in the blank, text it over if you would like. 877-933-2484. My guest is Dr. Marcus Bachmann. You can learn more about him at counselingcare.us. We'll be right back. Dr. Marcus Bachmann is my guest here with me in studio, and we're talking about 1 Peter 3, verse 7. Husbands, treat your wives with honor and respect. I want to get into those two words. I also got a text, Marcus, that said, I wonder if the word hopeless may be, in fact, futility. John Eldridge teaches in Wild at Heart that men easily give up, become passive, and believe life is futile. In other words, dealing with their wife feels futile. Isn't that the same as hopeless?
Well, there certainly is a similarity. I think, and today's program is about the responsibility of men understanding their wives.
Amen.
And at the same time, we can't neglect the fact that there are responsibilities that wives have toward their husbands. And if there's an ongoing neglect, or I'll just pick one of the items out of the sky here, if there is an emotional abusive approach that a wife has toward the husband, that is serious enough for often a man to start having hopelessness himself. So I think there is, we need to understand this does go both ways, in different ways. It still has the same principle in mind. That's really, Bill, it's kind of the cool thing about Christian counseling. When I have a couple that comes in that have no interest at all of Christian faith, I often wonder why they chose to have a Christian counselor or come to a Christian counseling agency. But nonetheless, I'm thankful. I'm appreciative that I can use biblical principles of how men and women are to treat each other, and it works. I don't have to point out that this is Scripture. At times, if I have the opportunity and if it fits, I will. But the beauty of God's Word is it works, and so I have just a thankfulness that it is. We don't have to be stuck with this sense of hopelessness in a marriage. God's Word works. His principles work. If we decide we are going to invest in the relationship, if we're going to decide that we're sick and tired of getting into a stuck point, a dullness, an unfulfillment, or even worse, looking elsewhere, and the D word comes up, there is another alternative, and that is that the principles of God's Word works in a marriage. We just need to put them into place.
Mm-hmm. So, Marcus, in 1 Peter 3:7, it's talking about the instruction that husbands have to live with their wives in an understanding, considerate way, treating them with honor and respect. Can we talk about the words honor and respect?
Yeah. Let me give you an example of Marcus not doing that well. Years ago, when the children were young, we have 5 children, and we had, I think, 4 foster children living in our home. So that's let me do my math here. That's 9.
That's a lot of kids.
And Michelle's home, and I remember this day. I came home, and I didn't see the kids around. I mean, there's a lot of kids, so they just happen to be at the neighbors,
Okay.
and they have a swimming pool.
The law of averages would say you would run into 1 or 2 of them, right?
You would. Well, some of the kids were in school still.
Okay.
So anyway, long story short, I just walked up to Michelle, and I should know this. You just sense when your wife, there's something not quite, everything's not okay there. And I just asked the question. I gave her a hug, gave her a kiss, and I said, "Hey, where are the kids?" And she said, she snapped back at me, "How should I know where the kids are?" and my mind just went right to the practice. What do you mean? You don't know where the kids are? And I just bounced back with, what do you mean you don't know where the kids are? Not the right answer. really what she was trying to tell me is, she knew where the kids are. She just didn't know right that split second right where they were. And the truth is, I was not understanding. I was judgmental. I had an attitude. I was ready to fight. I was just ready to be, Mr. not nice guy here. Mm-hmm. And the lesson that you have to understand is you don't listen just to the words. Even if sometimes we think as men the facts line up, even though we may think, I know the practicality of this answer, and I can, if I were here, I'd fix it, and I wouldn't do it your way. Well, wait a minute. The one had 9 kids. That's a lot. And it doesn't matter if you have 1.2 kids, whatever that means in the average of statistics today. It doesn't matter. It can be a lot on a woman's shoulders. So much of what she carries, so much of what she does, so much which is in her emotional and her mental state of taking care of the responsibility. If she were staying at home, and even then if she's not staying at home, there is a understanding way with patience, with a sense of, I need to listen to you rather than respond to what I think should be the fix-it answer or the practical answer or what's wrong with you answer or my judgment answer. There is a list of reasons why anyone may not be as responsive as I think they should be. Give them the opportunity to share, to give their emotions. And rather than me being the one that has that kind of response. I learned also, Bill, this is one of my freebie here's, if I can share it quick.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I learned, I deal with people with a lot of often intense problems in my counseling office. And I'm slowed down a little bit here. Actually, my kids would say I slow down a lot. I remember that when I drove home, and I had a 25-minute drive home at the time, I needed to let go of whatever I was listening to, whoever, the story of intensity was. I'm there present in my counseling session, but when I drive home, I need to let all that go. I need to release it. I need to give it to God. I need to make sure that I am coming home to a woman, to children, if that be the case, and I need to be prepared for them. My mission is to enter into that door not with a glass half empty, but with a fullness, a receptivity of, I'm there for you, honey.
Yeah, you can't give them leftover Marcus.
Nope, it doesn't work. And that's not my mission. My mission is to minister to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another comment, Marcus. I love the topic. It's something our marriage is struggling with. It seems like I can't get my husband to stop interrupting when I talk.
Well, I was going to interrupt you there, but that
I figured
would be
you didn't.
Yeah. Well, I guess I would. That's worthy of being explored. And again, I would ask the question, I want to make sure that I'm not interrupting my husband in that case. And so I would ask the questions, do you feel heard? Do you feel understood? I want to make sure that I'm treating you the way you should be treated and find out the answer. And he may have something entirely going on, Listen, if it's an ADD issue where they can't pay attention very well, then there are answers to ADD. And if there is, if it's a bad habit, then that needs to be discussed. And we need to practice. So let's just practice for a 2-minute listening, understanding session. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Most people. Okay, if that's too hard, then let's go for the 60 seconds. Let's go for 30-second conversation where you don't interrupt me. And we practice, and we practice, and we practice. And it's like everything else in life. It doesn't matter if it's our speech, our physical, Endurance, it doesn't matter if it's sleep hygiene, practice, practice, practice. And we can turn 30 seconds to 60 seconds into 2 minutes, into 3 minutes, into finally having a 5-minute conversation. But, it's not fair to have 20-minute sessions and not expect to be interrupted. So let's be reasonable, but we can improve and we can practice.
The practicing part is really important. I read a book 30 years ago, which I love, and I still reference it. And it's the communication style is you don't say anything until you are convinced the person has completed their thought and has stopped talking.
Oh, that's gold. Is that wonderful?
Otherwise, we're carrying on parallel monologues.
Yeah.
I'm not listening to you. I'm just waiting for you to stop talking so I can start talking.
Yeah. And then the habit is I'm thinking about what I'm going to say rather than really listening. So I'm really in my mind preparing. Not that you won't have a couple of those thoughts. I understand the human mind. But if that's the focus point, that I have to compete or I have to outdo or I have to outsay what you've just said or I'm really not paying attention, wow, let the person finish within reason. And also what goes along with that, that'd be a great book. But curiosity, I love curiosity. And I think curiosity in a meaningful relationship, in a husband-wife relationship, I am curious about you. I want to understand you. You're not the same woman I married. Mm-hmm. You've changed. You're changing even as in sometimes a short period of time. And so what you thought or what you felt now has changed again. Let me understand you. I am curious. What's curiosity say? Anytime someone has curiosity, it puts the other person first. It allows their story. It allows their opinion, their feelings, their verbiage to be first.
I like the quote by pastor and author Lewis Smedes, who said, "My wife has been married to 5 different men, all of them me." Isn't that a great line?
That's a great line.
Right.
It's so true.
Yeah. We'll be right back with Dr. Marcus Bachmann. Go to counselingcare.us to learn about him and his practice and his services. They're all available at counselingcare.us. We'll be right back. We carry each other's burdens. Please know you can bring us your prayer concerns and we will pray. Share your prayer requests with the Faith Radio team by texting or calling 877-933-2484 or share your prayer requests with the Faith Radio staff and listeners at myfaithradio.com. I'm back with Dr. Marcus Bachmann, and we are getting a lot of attention today from our topic, and that is really geared toward men. We're looking at you guys, and we are saying how important it is to be understanding with your wives, considerate, and treating them with honor and respect. And then there's that passage in 1 Peter chapter 3, Marcus, that says, so your prayers won't be hindered. Yes. So that nothing will hinder your prayers. Let's pay attention to this.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah,
when
it
you
really
think
is.
of the value and the importance of God would not listen to my prayers. I am speaking in a room that's just the room, and God is not listening to my prayers. Wow. I think of the famous verse that every single man has memorized, and that's that long verse of Jesus wept. Mm-hmm. And I always love that verse, but I've been contemplating that a little bit more. In that, Jesus, when Lazarus died, and his sisters came up to him, and why weren't you here before? I mean, obviously Jesus knew, being the healer, that he was going to resurrect Lazarus, and yet, here he was, a man that understood completely the story and what was going to happen and the healing, and yet at that moment, at the compassion, at the emotion that his friends, his Lazarus sisters were weeping, he wept. And I think, what a understanding we have as men, that even though we may think we know, we may know the answer or the correction or the fixing or whatever, we need to be present. And like Jesus' example of emotion, of being present and understanding, showed the emotion, even as he wept with the sisters. That's powerful to me.
It is.
Powerful.
Marcus, another comment. I feel understood when people react to something I describe with a few words. That lets me know they got the big idea.
So it doesn't take a lot of words. It takes usually more of the facial expression.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot to be said about that. Eyes that connect and the smile on the face or the nodding of the head. I was in a conference today at a church. And I do have this habit since I was in 6th grade to observe people. And the speaker was only about, 15 of us. And I watched the speaker and I watched the audience. And the audience, it was after lunch, so I have to give grace here, right?
Okay.
But they were not at all giving attention to the speaker. It was like, they were looking at their phones and they were just kind of, writing notes that it wasn't note-taking time. It was just, there's so much to be said about giving a expression that says, I'm paying attention.
Amen.
I'm listening. I've got my eyes open. I am giving you the gift of attention. And I think there is a lot to be said about how we don't have to always use a lot of words, but people know. One of our sharpest clients are our teenagers. They know when a therapist is in it for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
They spot a fake a mile away.
Wow.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
Of listening, of caring, of being sincere, and being present for someone. That's what understanding is all about, Bill.
Mm-hmm. Marcus, just have a few minutes left. Please provide a couple of words of encouragement that people can think about in the next couple of days as we anticipate getting back with your loved one and having a conversation. What should we focus on?
I'm going to use the words that I think are absolutely foundational for any turnaround, and that is, if how is my relationship first and foremost with a living God, and how humbled and broken in giving over everything to Him first and foremost. Because if I think that my thoughts or my worry or my angst or my pleading or my incredible skills at communication will change my spouse, no, it can be helpful. But my first and foremost relationship with Christ and my relationship in a way that says, Lord, I pour all of this out to you. I trust you. And you're the one that can change the hearts of men and women. And so if I pray first and foremost with that kind of openness and desire and create in me a clean heart, take a flashlight, Lord. Tell me what I need to do first and foremost.
Beautiful. Marcus, thank you for this conversation today. It's been awesome. I'm looking forward to having you back in next time. We'll find another topic as amazing as this. It's been great.
Thanks. Always good to be with you.
Yeah. Dr. Marcus Bachmann has been my guest, counselingcare.us. Tomorrow, I will have a professor, a pastor, and a Sunday school teacher sitting around the studio table, ready, willing, and able to take your questions. So if you have a question on the Bible, something you've been thinking about, text it over anytime. It doesn't have to be during the show. It could be tonight, later, or first thing in the morning. Doesn't matter. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening. Programming like this is made available through your support. Information available at myfaithradio.com.
In celebration of Easter, an epic 4-part audio podcast series, The Christ.
He's not just a boy.
Yet he is. And what will they do to him when they find out who he really is?
They will worship him.
Featuring the Emmy and Golden Globe Award-nominated voices of Tom Pelphrey, David Oyelowo, Paul Walter Hauser, John Rhys Davies, and Patricia Heaton.
My hour has not yet come.
My son, your hour was written before time.
It's the greatest story ever told. Hear it in an all-new way. The Christ.
He said, open your ears, and they were open.
An epic audio podcast series.
The tomb is empty.
Featuring an all-star cast.
Any power that you have has been given to you from above by he who sent me.
He claims to be a king.
You are the father of lies, and you have lost.
It has already been written.
And it is being unwritten by me.
Don't miss an episode. Listen and follow The Christ wherever you get your podcasts.